all the best sports clips from around the world. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of anywhere else? And that's because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time. They talk down to us. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of First Things First, talking about the Mahomes Mountain, the QB rankings by Nick Wright. Obviously, this is, I guess, combining this past season as well as like maybe future predictions as well. We already know that, of course, Mahomes is going to be at the very top, but I'm really interested to see where Purdy's going to be, where maybe other quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. So let's get right into it and see what he has to say.
Not bad, by the way. Most of these guys, you have some level of optimism that they can bounce back or get back to their previous selves. Of all the guys, and Jaden Daniels, if you're the Patriots, I think he's the guy you hope falls to 3. And obviously, he's a rookie, so you can't put him too high up. Anthony Richardson is the guys on this level that I personally have the most optimism in. I thought he looked really good before he got hurt. Row 6, what a jam-packed row. 2 number.
Okay, this is insane. This is insane. Hurts and Purdy, 2 Super Bowl quarterbacks. Rodgers, I guess technically because he hasn't played all season, so I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But putting Baker, Kyler, and Tua all on that same level makes 0 sense. 0 sense. Purdy is better than Baker. So is Hurts. Kyler is better than Baker, and so is Tua. So this is
1 picks.
Ridiculous.
The last 2 quarterbacks to lose in the Super Bowl. A 4-time MVP. Tua Tagovailoa was the MVP favorite at one point this season. That's how stacked the offseason edition of the Mountain is. Those are the names on level 6. Now, to level 5. Jordan Love might be too low. I'm not sure. And listen, I understand. I get it. I get it. People are going to say, people are going to say Trevor is too high.
Yeah.
But Trevor Lawrence has been called by many people Peyton Manning 2.0. And everyone knows that Peyton, around this time of his career, had the playoffs year with Jim Mora, where it didn't work out and it turned out just.
I just want to know how Kirk Cousins is, and Caleb for that matter, and the Prince are all above Hurts and Purdy. I mean, like that, I can't make sense. Love, I could understand because if you're going by what he did in the second half of last season and what he showed you and the growth that you think he's going to be, I think Love is going to be a great quarterback. So, I would put Love and Purdy probably on the same ranking to a degree. And Goff is a really good quarterback. Listen, and Cousins is a good quarterback as well. It's just like when you're putting them on these individual levels together, they're just not the same, like at all.
Just fine for him. Caleb is maybe a touch too low. And shout out to 2 of our last pure, just drop back passers. Not going to beat you with our legs. Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff. Kirk was playing great this year until he got hurt. Jared Goff played well throughout. 4th row, wow talent, all with their own question marks. For Stafford, it's about age and injury at this point. That is the question mark with him. For Lamar and Dak, it is, can you replicate what you've done in the regular seasons in the postseason? And for Herbert, it is, when will the eye test line up with the standings? When will, because we all understand how talented he is and the wow stuff he can do, but the wins have not come along with it. All right, 3rd row, these guys are all unquestioned stud.
I mean, this is insane. This is insane because first off, you just said these guys are all unquestioned studs, which then you put Stroud there, which I don't understand. I think Stroud is a great quarterback and is going to be a great quarterback, continue to be a great quarterback, but he theoretically only had 1 good game in the playoffs, and then also didn't play so good at all. Couldn't handle the Ravens one bit. And we can say, well, he was a rookie, which is understandable, but you can't say unquestioned. because Allen has done it multiple times. Burrow has done it multiple times. Stafford won a Super Bowl, okay, with a no-look pass in the Super Bowl. That's unquestioned. And again, Lamar then, like, you can't put Stroud above Lamar. Say what you will about Lamar, he's still proven to be able to do it multiple seasons. Stroud has not done that yet. So he's technically unproven just yet. I believe in Stroud, so I don't doubt him. So make no mistake, just because you haven't proved something yet doesn't mean that I'm doubting you. There is a difference there. But again, this is just kind of, absurd from my viewpoint. And to think that Dak is on the same level as Lamar Jackson or Stafford is insane. To think that Dak is better than Jalen Hurts or even Brock Purdy, insane. You know why? Because both Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy have proved that they can handle the moment of the Super Bowl, of the NFC Championship games, that they can come up big. Dak Prescott has never done that. Never done that. He, unfortunately for him and the Cowboys fans, folds in those really big, intense pressure situations. He thrives during the regular season. He thrives when he's playing bad teams. But the moment he plays a good team, he has a losing record. You know who has a winning record against winning teams? Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy. I mean, so it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, seriously, this list is kind of absurd. And to think that Herbert is on the same level as Dak Prescott is disgrace. Herbert is amazing. He is going to be amazing this next season or the season after, when he's not finally with Harbaugh. Mark my words. Mark this right now. You can come back to me next season. Herbert is legit. He has been just out there practically with the glorified Carolina Panthers, essentially, okay? Or the old school Cleveland Browns. So it's just like he hasn't had a real coach and he hasn't had a real competent team around him. That's about to change within the next 2 seasons.
And if you are a coach of any of these teams, you are saying, you know what? Maybe if our guy plays his A game, he can go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes and win. Burrow did it once. CJ hasn't had the opportunity. Josh Allen has come as close as you can without actually winning the game, but has played well in most of those playoff appearances. Row 2. Totally vacant, because nobody deserves to be within one row of the best quarterback we've ever seen, the most talented quarterback we've ever seen, the greatest start to an NFL career we've ever seen, Patrick bleeping Mahomes II. That is the way too early edition, coach, of Mahomes Mountain. Prove me right.
You're way too early in anticipating me agreeing with you. That much. I have a lot of questions, but the first question is Lamar Jackson. And there's this narrative that I don't love Lamar Jackson and that I don't appreciate what he can do, and it's not true. I think that Lamar is special and has a unique set of talents, and when he plays those talents, he's as dominant a quarterback as anybody there is. And he should at least be in that second row. The issue with Lamar is when they go into these playoff games and suddenly they're gonna move away from what he does so well and take the pressure off the defense, and that's why you get the results that you get. But to me, when
Right, Lamar Jackson, everyone wants to say that Lamar Jackson is a choke artist, which is like kind of laughable. That was his coaching, and that's what Mangini is saying. And Mangini's a coach, so he knows, okay? So he knows coaching mistakes, okay? That's coaching. People have to start to understand how important coaching is. They have to. Is it no wonder that Patrick Mahomes is with one of the best coaches in the history of the NFL? I mean, come on. It's obvious. And then you have these other great quarterbacks who are limited by their coaches. I mean, that's been the biggest narrative about Brock Purdy, is that he's elevated by his team and his coach. So if you can be elevated by your team and his coach, you certainly can be brought down by your team and your coach. And that is what Joe Burrow and Josh Allen have faced. That is what Stafford, think about what the perfect example is Stafford, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Stafford was dying with the Detroit Lions for years and years and years. He has 1 year with Sean McVay and the Rams, and he wins a Super Bowl. It's that straightforward. I mean, that is the most perfect proof. It wasn't luck that happened. That wasn't just luck. That was because Stafford is a great quarterback, an elite quarterback, but unfortunately, his true prime years when we were really able to be like, oh my God, look at this guy. He was out in Detroit, who did nothing for 30 plus years. And had defensive coaches. So again, you guys have to understand that. Seriously, you have to realize how brutal and how important coaching is. How brutal it is to have a bad coach or a defensive head coach if you're a quarterback, and how much of a luxury it is to have a great offensive head coach. And Joe Burrow's, unfortunately, he just keeps getting injured, right? He gets banged up, and he also, one year, he had no offensive line. And it's funny because we say, a lot of people who love Patrick Mahomes say, well, Patrick Mahomes only lost in that Super Bowl because he had no offensive line. And it's like, okay, that's fine. If I can accept that. But then accept that Joe Burrow for years had no offensive line. Yes, he has Jamar Chase and he has a couple other, key wide receivers and stuff like that. But when you have no offensive line, it's still hard. Patrick Mahomes had Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill that year and still couldn't make do. So the offensive line is crucial. And Joe Burrow doesn't have that. Josh Allen for years didn't have a defense. And this past season, he finally had a defense, but then they were all injured. And he literally had a new offensive coordinator throughout in the middle of the year. That is not easy. That is not easy to do, okay? And again, Lamar Jackson is the MVP. He was practically going to be the unanimous MVP. He's great. He's amazing. He is not a choke artist. Did he have a rough start in the beginning of his playoffs? Sure, but we know he can do it. But this is actually on his coaching. His coaching failed him. Absolutely failed him. And Trevor Lawrence, I think Trevor Lawrence will be good one day too, but again, he hasn't really done enough. Right? And Goff went to a Super Bowl too, and Goff is a darn good quarterback. I know he's not as flashy. I know he's not as mobile and this or that, but he almost took down the 49ers. It wasn't his fault that they didn't win. In fact, when they went for on those fourth downs, he threw amazing passes that should have been caught. I think there was one fourth down that he threw a bad throw, but that was because he was kind of running for his life, and it was kind of just like a prayer throw, which even Patrick Mahomes does. So, I don't really get it. Quite honestly, this list is actually more absurd than I really would have thought in the first place.
Lamar is doing the things that Lamar does well. He's as good as anybody and could easily be where Patrick is.
Okay, well, that's a bridge too far, but it is nice to hear because Coach is unfairly maligned as being anti-Lamar when I think you were more anti the change of offense and the plan and skeptical.
I think it's trying to stuff something down somebody's throat that they don't do as well because you think it has to be, a key component. It's not the right approach.
So Lamar obviously is more accomplished player than anyone on the mountain other than Mahomes from a regular season standpoint. From a postseason standpoint, I have CJ ahead of him, and Lamar would say, "Oh, I beat him in the playoffs." And so I would understand those would be fair. Those would be fair criticisms. Listen, I am a big believer in CJ. If CJ wasn't in the AFC, I think he would have been a good MVP pick. I don't know if the Texans record's going to be good enough. I think that we saw Lamar with as good of a team as he's ever had with home field against the weakest Chiefs team, and we saw what that looked like in the postseason. So I would just have more optimism for Allen, CJ, or Burrow if they were to try to topple Mahomes.
Well, look, I'm stunned.
What?
Because the last few days, or maybe just yesterday, I thought you were starting to come around on Brock Purdy.
I know.
I was
maybe last week too, Friday. Maybe
Yeah, he started to say something.
You started to say some nice things about Brock Purdy. So I'm stunned he's so low. I will give you this. What it would be?
His row?
Row 4?
Which one?
Not his row. What's the row above?
Row 5.
Okay, row 5 to 7 is jammed, or 5 and 6 are some.
Yes.
There's some good names in there. So
Yes.
I will give you that.
Baker, who I love.
Baker's my guy now.
Yeah.
However,
Oh yeah, I forgot.
I gotta move Purdy up. All right.
Obviously.
I'm moving Purdy up to the Stafford, Lamar, Dak row, Herbert row, because here's why. He's checked every box.
Thank you.
What else does he need to do? He's got the great individual numbers, which separates him from a Jimmy Garoppolo, who just won with Shanahan, but didn't, have great individual numbers. He's proven no stage is too big. He faced Tom Brady in his first start, had 2 touchdowns and a victory. His first playoff game, 330 yards, 3 touchdowns. His first Super Bowl, he's facing Patrick Mahomes and the best defense in the league, and he plays better than Lamar and Tua did against them. Played well enough for them to win. And so I don't know what other box. Let's look at this, what he did in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
This graphic will stun some people. I got 2 of them, actually. So first of all, most fourth quarter or overtime go-ahead drives in a Super Bowl.
Using my texts against me.
Yes,
I sent him
right.
this.
Yes.
Sent him this.
He had 3. This is in one game.
Yeah.
In his first Super Bowl, he broke that record, if it's a quote-unquote record. All right? But check this out. Okay. Look at the next record. This is the most in Super Bowl history. So Brady's got 9 of them, but he's been to 10 Super Bowls. Mahomes has 4 of them, but he's been to 4 Super Bowls. Brock Purdy, Eli's got 3, but he's been to 2?
And so this is what I kept saying, that Brock Purdy put his team in a position to win. You know, he just did. And that's why you have to give him the respect, because other teams, other quarterbacks have not done that. You know, Trevor Lawrence in the playoff game, by throwing all those interceptions, didn't put his team to consistently win. Yes, I know they ended up pulling that one playoff game out, but that was more because of the terrible coaching by the Chargers. Kyler Murray, I think he's actually a really good quarterback, but he just has kind of his own issues that he has to work out to. I don't know if he's like the hardest worker, and unfortunately he got injured, and you have those kind of things to kind of work through. Love, it's just a little early. I'm really excited to see what he does next season. Caleb, obviously we have no idea. Cousins has never been able to really handle the big moment. I think he's a great regular season quarterback, but he's never really been able to prove to kind of go to that next level. Although I don't believe he crumbles in those moments necessarily, though. I don't think we use the words like choke way too easily. You know, we just say choking is like you're able to do something, but then like in the moment you can't because you let the pressure get to you. When a lot of times it's just that some of these players are incapable of doing such great things at the highest level at a high rate. You know, that's what happens. That's what happens with Dak. He's just not good enough to come up big in the big moments 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of times. 10 out of 10 times. You know, the Patrick Mahomes of the world can do it like 8 out of 10 times, right? He's not even perfect. No one's perfect. And so then when you have someone like a Dak, he can maybe do it like 3 out of 10 times. So I just think I take such issue that you're going to put, you know, Dak Prescott on the same row as Stafford, who won the Super Bowl, and Lamar, 2-time MVP. I mean, that just like doesn't make any sense. I mean, it really, really doesn't. So you got to bring Lamar. I would put Dak on the level with, and again, we're saying Rodgers because this obviously isn't career based, right? You know, because obviously Rodgers is way up there, one of the best quarterbacks. But if we're just kind of going along with this, I would put Dak on that bottom row then right here. And I would put Tua, Dak, Kyler, Baker, Rodgers. And I would replace Purdy and Hurts. I would put Trevor Lawrence down there. And I would put Caleb Williams down there because he's never done it. He's not there yet. So that's absurd to put Caleb above Purdy and Hurts, who are both reached the Super Bowl. Purdy reaching 2 NFC championship games. So, you know, get out of here. And then that next level, I would put, you know, I think Hurts and Purdy, Purdy, Goff. I think Hurts is the biggest question mark to me because he played so great the season before. And then this past season with the Eagles was a disaster with their coordinators. Also Hurts hurt his knee very early on in the season. It was very obvious he was wearing a brace. He just obviously was, you know, uncomfortable the whole time. Even Nick Wright said it, like he's clearly not healthy. So that's unfortunate. And they were even asking him questions. If you haven't watched those games, they were asking him a lot of questions at post game. How's your knee? And he started to get really annoyed. Like it's fine, which usually means it's not. So I'm really curious to see what they do next season. They hopefully got a good OC now. And so it'll be interesting to see what he does. To me, I'm reserving my long-term opinion of Hurts until next season. Purdy, I believe we're probably going to get a lot of the same stuff. I'm not seeing why he would take a step back. Stafford is tough because he's just getting older. You know, that's just the reality. Herbert is going to explode, as I said. Burrow, as long as he stays healthy, is going to be great. Stroud, great. Allen, his team is. It's such a tragedy that he is. Put it this way. This is the last point I'll make. Okay, he has Allen right underneath Mahomes, and has even admitted that Allen has him individually has held his own against Mahomes in those playoff games. Okay, here's the difference. The difference is not just Mahomes' greatness, and that's why Mahomes has won and has had those 3 Super Bowls. The difference is the Chiefs team as a whole. The players of Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, you know, they're his O-line, his new and improved O-line. Like, those things are the difference makers that Josh Allen has not had. Joe Burrow has not had. You know, Joe Burrow's head coach was hanging on by a thread. And then until Joe Burrow came along and said, hey, I'm going to take us to the Super Bowl, then it was like, oh, okay, great. This guy's a great head coach now. And it's like, well, is he really, or is Joe Burrow just that dude? You cannot overestimate the effect of like an Andy Reid, as well as being drafted with key players like Tyreek Hill. And I know they've won without Tyreek Hill, but he still got to develop as a young quarterback with the likes of a prime Travis Kelce, prime Tyreek Hill, prime Andy Reid. Andy Reid already made all his mistakes and issues in Philadelphia, and even already had a few years in Kansas City to like get settled. So it's not like a strange place, you know, in a strange land. So that it's just a perfect storm for Mahomes to be great. And again, I think Mahomes is the best quarterback. So I'm not saying that he's just kind of inflated because of all the things that I just mentioned. I think if everyone was on a neutral team, right, with a neutral coach and everything was 100% equal, Mahomes would still be the best, but I think it would be so much closer than people are willing to realize. I really think that wouldn't be this tip-top mountain. The top of the mountain would be like Mahomes, Allen, Burrow. I really think those 3 quarterbacks are actually just pretty equal. It's just the difference is players and coaching. I really think those are the top 3 quarterbacks, and Herbert, I think, really might not be too far behind, and we're really going to see what Herbert can do with Harbaugh, and I think that's going to change a lot of opinions. And same thing with Lamar, and that's what Mangini was saying too, that Lamar is brilliant and amazing, but he's had multiple OCs, and which again, when you have a defensive / special teams head coach, like, those things matter. The biggest constant Mahomes has had is Andy Reid, and that matters. That really, really does. But what do you all think? What do you guys think of this pyramid? Do you think, you know, Allen, Stroud, and Burrow should be higher, or that those 2 little vacant spots? Where do you think Hurts and Purdy should be? What about Dak, Lamar? Let me know in the comments below. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.